Chapter 85, 5th Year, Dung Bombs and Broom Cupboards. Monday the 23rd of February, 1976. It was a simple enough prank to begin with, good old-fashioned dung bombs. But Sirius's high spirits at the prospect of all former orders working together again meant that the idea kept growing and expanding, until it somehow involved 400 dung bombs, a timing delay spell, and all 4 of them out of bed after curfew. They'd put it off long enough. Even if Remus agreed to forgo his homework for an evening, they had to gather the materials. He didn't ask where they got their hands on 400 dung bombs, best not to know. And then contend with Quidditch practice and the prefect patrol rota. Then there was a full moon. All told, the first night all of them were available ended up being at the end of February. "Been a while," James grinned as he disappeared under the cloak. Peter's ability to turn into a rat was incredibly useful, especially when he could shrink down and rest on James's shoulder under the invisibility cloak. Unfortunately, tall as they all were now, 3 was still too many to properly fit. "You 2 use the cloak," Remus sighed, pulling it off after trying to squat low enough so that it didn't show any of their ankles. "I'll just flash my prefect pin if anyone asks what I'm doing." "Takes all the fun out of it, though," Sirius complained, slightly muffled under the fabric. "I'm sure you'll still find a way to have fun," Remus said. "Come on then." They left the dorm room and made their way down the stairs to leave Gryffindor Tower. Remus had to walk slowly so that the others could keep up, but he was anxious to get it over with. It was a good idea and everything, but it was going to take most of the night if they wanted all their bases covered, and he had an early start on Tuesday. "Hi, Remus." No sooner as they had turned a corner, they had bumped into Christopher. This was getting ridiculous. Everywhere he turned, if Snape wasn't watching him, then Christopher was. Remus steeled himself and smiled broadly, deeply conscious that the 3 marauders stood behind him invisible. "Hi, Christopher. How's it going?" "Not bad," the delighted boy chirped back. "I was just going to the common room. Fancy a game of chess?" Sorry, I'm on patrol." Remus tapped his metal badge. "Oh, right. Where's Lily, then?" "In the loo," he said quickly. "I'm just waiting for her." "I'll wait with you," Christopher grinned. Remus fought the urge to slap his forehead in disbelief. "Oh, no," he laughed, trying to keep his tone friendly. "No, you go off to the common room. It's nearly curfew. I don't want to have to give you detention." "Oh, okay then." Christopher nodded. Remus only ever disappointed him. "See you later, maybe?" "I forgot to say, I'm so excited about your party." "My what?" There was a low groan of annoyance just behind Remus. Fortunately, Christopher didn't seem to hear it. "Your birthday party. I can't wait. I couldn't come to Sirius Black's party in November. I had a potions essay due. But this year, I'll make sure to get everything out of the way first." "Terrific," Remus replied, giving him a thumbs up. "Just go away for God's sake." "See you there, then." Christopher bounced off quite happily. Remus smirked and turned to the invisible boys over his shoulder. "My party?" "It was supposed to be a surprise," James whispered. "Who is that little git, anyway?" Sirius asked. "Leave him alone," Remus tutted. "He's just friendly." "Such a benevolent professor," James laughed. "He'll be bringing you apples next." "Well, one of you should tell him I prefer chocolate, then," Remus replied, breezily, as they made their way further along the hallway. They distributed the dung bombs as quickly as they could, and Remus performed the time-delaying spell, something he'd been playing around with for a while. The key was making sure that the dung bombs were scattered equally throughout the castle in order to cause maximum chaos. "I spaced the times out at hourly intervals," Remus explained quietly. "I reckon it should take Filch about an hour to clear the first lot, so as soon as he's finished, the second lot will go off, then the third." We'll never make fun of you again, Moony, Sirius promised. You bloody legend. Yeah, well, as long as no one knows it was me, he laughed. I've got my reputation to think of. Oh yeah, we can't have little Christopher finding out his hero is a bad boy, can we? Remus elbowed him sharply in the side. Hurry up, Peter, now human, said, wringing his hands. I promised I'd try and say goodnight to Desi before curfew. Can we do the Ravenclaw floor next? Ah, young love, James chuckled. Giving your girlfriend a goodnight kiss as your friends booby-trap her exit points. She thinks it's funny, Peter shrugged, slightly pink. Oi, Pete, how far have you got with Desdemona anyway? Sirius asked brusquely. Peter blinked wildly a few times. He was not used to being addressed by Sirius, who had lately been asking him all sorts of questions since beginning his relationship with Mary. Remus had the idea that Sirius saw it all as an extension of the snogging competition. What do you mean? You know, Sirius continued, juggling a few dung bombs carelessly. Over the clothes or under the clothes, above the waist or below the... Nothing like that! Peter was bright red now. And it's none of your business anyway. Oh, go on. I'll tell you how far I've got with MacDonald. I don't want to know. She's let me feel up her... Okay, finished, Remus said loudly. Next stop, Ravenclaw. It took them almost another hour, and it was well past curfew by the time they had finished everything. In hindsight, James yawned, we should have started laying them further from the common room and worked our way back. Remus nodded drowsily. We did it, though, Sirius cheered. The marauders are back. We never went anywhere, Peter muttered. He was still annoyed for having been put on the spot earlier. They were over halfway back when Remus caught Mrs. Norris's scent. He shushed the others, and Peter quickly transformed into a rat, more out of nervousness than anything. James was just raising the cloak to cover all of them, when the cat appeared, mewing disdainfully. Sirius, still full of energy, winked at James. Watch this, and turned into a dog. He barked 3 times, and Mrs. Norris turned tail and ran. Sirius turned back, laughing hysterically. Who's there? Filch's voice echoed around the same corner. You've done it now, Remus moaned. You idiot. Run, James said, and set off at full pelt towards the common room, Peter squeaking behind him. Remus tried to keep up, but his hip wouldn't allow it, and he was soon out of breath. Sirius hung back with him, much to his annoyance. Go! He panted, waving a hand at Sirius. I might not get in trouble, but you will. Don't slow down. Nonsense, Moony, Sirius said, looking around quickly. His face lit up. In here. Sirius grabbed Remus by the wrist and yanked him into a nearby broom cupboard, closing the door as quietly as possible. Perfect, Remus hissed, annoyed, snatching back his hand. Now, if we get caught, they'll know we were up to something. Oh, relax, will you? Sirius retorted. The worst we'll get is detention. You used to get loads of detentions. You used to be fun. Well, I'm sorry if my idea of fun doesn't involve spending all night stuck in a cupboard with you, Remus whispered back, hotly. It was dark, and he knew Sirius couldn't see him as well as Remus could see Sirius. Lumos, Sirius whispered, lighting the wand point and rummaging in his bag. There wasn't much room, and he kept jostling into Remus's hip. What are you doing now? Remus snapped, trying to edge away as much as possible. Why couldn't he have ended up trapped with James or Peter? Peter would have been perfect. Calm your tits, Sirius said. I've got the map. Hang on. Aha! He withdrew the blank parchment from his back pocket and tapped it with his wand. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Nothing. Sirius cleared his throat. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Moony, it's broken. Or that's just a bit of old parchment, and someone else has the map, Remus suggested. Potter! I'll bloody kill him! No, it's good, Remus said, thinking fast. If James has it, then he can find us, or at least he knows where we are. Oh, yeah, I suppose you're right. Think we should wait then? Well, since you put us in a corner, I don't think we have a choice. Sirius sighed heavily. Remus felt his breath against his collarbone. He tried to twist away again, feeling an alarming tightening in his trousers. Godric, Sirius huffed. What is your problem? What? Remus reacted, surprised. You've been dragging your heels about this prank for ages, avoiding me and James since Christmas. I've been revising, and you've had Quidditch. We're not 12 anymore. We can't spend all our time together. Seem to spend plenty of time with Evans. We're prefects together, and she helps me with potions. And the mood? What mood? You! You've been grumpy all year. Remus was pretty miffed to be called moody by Gryffindor's resident drama queen, but he held his tongue. It was no good getting into a fight, not when you were so close your knees were knocking together. It's nothing, exam stress. Well, I don't believe you, Sirius said defiantly. His wand had gone out, but he was looking right at Remus. Maybe he could see in the dark. Dogs could, couldn't they? His eyes burnt like filaments. Something's wrong. Moony, tell me. Nothing's wrong. Leave it, will you? Okay, Sirius replied, his voice softer now, less aggressive. Okay, but I wish you'd tell me. You used to tell me your secrets. Look, it isn't the time, Remus whispered, closing his eyes and turning his head away. We're about to get caught out of bed and probably get a month's detentions. We need to be quiet. He felt Sirius nod, and they said no more. He could come up with an excuse, Remus thought, for the mood. If exam stress didn't work, then maybe mention the war. The Marauders hadn't really discussed it in detail, and it was on Remus's mind, so he hoped that it was more believable. But he didn't want to remind Sirius, after everything he'd already been through. He had considered mentioning his snake problem, but was equally concerned about Sirius's reaction to that. He'd been getting into enough trouble lately, and Remus didn't want anyone going after Severus on his account. He'd deal with that himself. Some nights, when he couldn't sleep, Remus had even mulled over the possibility of claiming he did have a crush on Mary. He was sure that Sirius would be understanding, and it seemed like an easy way out. Or else he could pretend Grant was a girl and tell them all about that. He had decided not to, and felt guilty for even coming up with the idea. It was dishonest at best, and disrespectful at worst, even if Grant never found out. There was nothing to do but wait for it to pass. God, it was warm, squashed up in the cupboard like that. Remus did everything he could to keep his back pressed hard against the wall. There was barely any room at all. If Sirius so much as stepped forward an inch, they would be touching. And if, horrors of horrors, they came into contact anywhere below the waist, it was torture. Moony, Sirius whispered, so quietly Remus thought he might have imagined it, but he was looking up at him, a strange look on his face. Are you... Suddenly, blessedly, the door swung open to reveal James grinning at them, Wormtail on his shoulder. Having fun, lads? Remus could have kissed him. Our hero, he smiled weakly. Chapter 86. 5th Year, Sweet 16. Tuesday, the 9th of March, 1976. It was a miracle of epic proportions that none of them were caught, and even more miraculous that their prank went off without a hitch the next day, resulting in a morning off lessons, while Filch dealt with the terrible stench. The rest of the classes took place outside on the grounds in the early spring sunshine, which, as far as the Marauders were concerned, was a win. Additionally, Sirius could barely contain his glee when they all returned to their common rooms that evening to find a notice pinned on the corkboard reminding students that dogs were not on the approved list of pets at Hogwarts. This caused a huge amount of confusion among the rest of the students. "I've never seen a dog. Who's got a dog?" "If one of the Slytherins got a dog in, then I want to bring my rabbit from home. I think I have seen one in the grounds, actually. Maybe it's a stray." Needless to say, Sirius and James were in their element. "I'll sniff him out," Sirius announced. "I bet he's right under our noses," James laughed. "Could be closer than we think." Remus laughed too, trying to mask his unease. Sirius had so far said nothing about the half an hour in the broom cupboard. Remus could only assume that either A. Sirius had not found anything out of the ordinary, and in fact Remus was once again overthinking, likely. Or B. Sirius knew everything about Remus, his darkest desires and deepest secrets, and preferred not to address it because the whole thing was just too embarrassing. Less likely, but more frightening. At any rate, Remus threw himself into his schoolwork, his prefect duties, and generally being a model student. This at least ensured that he was out of Sirius's way. Sirius had evidently decided to do the complete opposite. He had never exactly been the best at following rules, of course, but even James admitted that this year Sirius appeared to be attempting some kind of record. He was in detention almost every night, rarely completed his homework, even though he could do it with one arm tied behind his back if he wanted to, and split the rest of his time between making mischief and seeing how far he could get his tongue down Mary MacDonald's throat. Not that Mary seemed to mind much. That was fine. That was just as it should be. It wasn't easy, though. As much of a relief it was to be away from the one person that he couldn't be sensible around, Remus also found it very distressing to be away from the one person he couldn't be sensible around. Marlene and Lily were lovely. They were kind, funny, and clever and generous, but they were a poor substitute for the Marauders. He'd even tried spending a bit more time talking to Christopher, asking him questions about home or the music he liked. But it was worse than he expected. Christopher was a pure-blood wizard who didn't know any Muggle music and didn't appear to be that interested in hearing any. On top of that, he had realised his error in spoiling Remus's birthday surprise and wouldn't stop apologising, which was incredibly annoying. Remus had already promised James that he would act surprised when the party was unveiled in his honour. He tried to talk them all out of it, of course, but he'd been pleading for moderation since first year, and knew he wasn't likely to get it. "Don't make a fuss on my account," he said at dinner. "Lily will go mental." "Wrong," James said smugly. "Lily sent out half the invitations." "Invitations?" "Yeah, we've had a lot of interest. Considered charging entry, actually," Sirius explained, eyes twinkling across the table. Remus looked his food quickly. He had decided not to make eye contact with Sirius ever again. It would not be easy, but it was the only way. Of this he was convinced. "Your little library gang wanted to come," James continued. "And they're not all Gryffindors, so we had to open it up to other houses. Then there's this weird group of 7th years who said you're a total legend. No idea what that's about. Have you got a secret double life or something, Moony?" Remus shrugged. He still had some students asking for cigarettes, though he didn't sell them anymore. He usually didn't mind lending fags, though, as long as they were eventually repaid. "Well, anyway," James pushed his glasses up his nose. "You simply have too many fans, Moony, and we can't let them all down at short notice, can we?" "Fine. No drinking, though," Remus sighed. "It's a school night." Wednesday, the 10th of March, 1976. It rained the morning of Remus's birthday, but he couldn't have cared less. He woke up to a pile of presents from the Potters, all sorts of lovely things like sweets and a home-baked birthday cake, plus a fine leather-bound notebook and matching quill. There were cards from everyone, including one from Professor Ferox, which made Remus blush from top to bottom. At breakfast, the Marauders conducted almost the entire school in a rendition of Happy Birthday, which ended up running to 5 encores before Remus attempted to crawl under the table to escape it. The Slytherins scowled, stony face, and in a fit of birthday joie de vivre, Remus actually stuck his tongue out at Snape. The marauders then piled his plate high with a slice of toast for each available topping and handed over their own gifts. Sirius and James were in their Quidditch robes ready for an early morning practice before lessons. "Do we have to, Potter?" Marlene whined, looking up at the enchanted ceiling which was grey and drizzly. "Yes, if we want the cup," James asserted, pouring her another mug of coffee. "And again, after last bell, before the you-know-what." He winked at Marlene so elaborately that Remus almost burst out laughing. "Smooth, Potter." Marlene raised an eyebrow. "Right, I've got to get to the library," Mary said brightly, climbing up off Sirius's lap. "Got to hand that divination book back before Pince calls to have me hung, drawn and quartered." "See you after second Quidditch?" Sirius asked, still holding Mary at the hips. "Nah," she shook her head, ringlets bouncing. "I'm really behind on history. Thought I'd drop into one of Remus's classes." "Study sessions," Remus corrected quickly, careful to not look at the couple for too long. "Whatever you say, Professor Lupin." She grinned at him cheekily. "Oi!" Sirius tugged at her to reclaim her attention. "I thought you were going to sit in the Quidditch stands and do your homework." "Well, I said I might." Mary squirmed free. "But it's blooming freezing out today, and Remus is really good at explaining." "Fine," Sirius said, angrily, tossing his hair and crossing his arms. "Do whatever you like. I don't care." "Oi, don't start with me, Mr. Black," Mary frowned. "You'll lose, I promise." Sirius did not look up. Mary put a hand on her hips. "Kiss me goodbye, then." Sirius didn't move. Mary's face darkened. "Fine," she snapped, with a little stamp of her foot. "I'll see you when I bloody see you," and marched off. Everyone else at the table glanced around awkwardly, and now Remus was not the only one avoiding Sirius's eye. Fortunately, Sirius was, for once, in tune with the feelings of others, and stood up. "See you on the pitch," he muttered to James as he stalked out of the room, red robes swishing behind him. "Well," Marlene said, "can't wait to hear about that for the next 2 weeks. Hope they make up soon." Everyone at the table agreed. "The thing is," Mary said to Remus later on that evening as she painted her fingernails a dark, wicked shade of red, "Sirius and I just both have such fiery personalities, you know. In Witch Weekly, it says that means our relationship is very passionate." Remus replied, trying to tune it out as he very purposefully began drawing out lines for his astronomy chart. "And obviously, passion is a really good thing in relationships," she continued, blowing on her fingernails. "I mean, it's really good, that side of things." She smiled to herself, in that awful, smug, satisfied, happy way she always did when talking about Sirius. "But he needs to learn that I have my own life, you know. I mean, it's the 70s. "Yeah, great," Remus nodded, not looking up. "Remus?" Christopher appeared at his side. "Are you doing a star chart? Can I watch?" "I'm really not that great at astronomy, Chris," Remus replied, trying to concentrate on his lines. "You're better off just reading the textbook." "Oh no, I bet you're great." "I'm really not." "Remus," Mary said, leaning over the desk, jogging his ruler and smearing the tiniest fleck of red nail polish onto his parchment. "Are you listening to me? I asked if you know why Sirius—" "Lupin! Lupin!" A third year came running out of the portrait hole. "I lost your notes on unicorns. I'm really sorry, but hiya, Lupin. Can I bum a fag?" A 6-year appeared. Remus screwed up his face. A dull pain had started behind his eyes. "Just, can everyone be quiet?" he said, much more brusquely than he meant to. He looked up and saw everyone staring at him, slightly wide-eyed. I've got a headache. I'm going to go for a lie down." He got up. "No," Mary said, standing up too. "You can't. Sorry, Remus, but the lads were up there planning, she bit her lip nervously. "I was supposed to keep you down here." Remus took a deep breath. "Okay, I'll go to the hospital wing then. He refused all offers to escort him, hurrying as quickly as possible, skull throbbing sickly with every step. It was no good. He would have to start being rude to people, for the sake of his own sanity, if nothing else. Since when had he become everyone's best friend? Wasn't he just the same scrawny, mean, care-home brat he'd always been? The cool quiet of the sick bay was so soothing, Remus could have burst into tears. As much as he usually felt very much at home in the red warm glow of the Gryffindor common room, it was the still soft greys of the hospital wing where Remus first remembered feeling truly peaceful at Hogwarts. He stood there enjoying it for a moment, eyes closed. If he could, he'd stay here all night. "Hello, Remus dear," Madame Pomfrey smiled, coming out of her office. "Everything all right?" Oh no, he really was going to cry. He swallowed helplessly, and raised a fist to his forehead. "Remus?" The nurse came over a little quicker, her brow creasing with concern. She was still just a bit taller than him, but they were eye to eye pretty much. "Sorry," he gasped, his voice tight and strange as he fought back tears. I've got a headache." "Sit down," Madame Pomfrey said gently, motioning to the nearest armchair by an unoccupied bed. "I've just the thing." She summoned a little pewter vial from her office. It flew into her palm, and she uncorked it and gave it to him. "Have 2 good glugs of that. Don't worry, it's nice and sweet." Her eye twinkled a little. Remus downed the potion, and felt all of the tension and pain leave his neck and head at once, like water washing away. "Thanks." He ducked his head. His voice was still thick. "Sorry. Bit of an overreaction." "Dear Remus," Madame Pomfrey chuckled. "I've known you for 5 years now, and not once have you ever overreacted. Are you sure you're all right?" "Yeah, better now, thanks." "I mean, in general," she pressed. "I've heard you've been burning the candle at both ends, doing long hours in the library, and you have your prefect duties and your health." "I'm fine." Remus rubbed his eyes fiercely. "Honestly, maybe just tired. I'll go to bed now." "Happy birthday, Remus," the Mediwitch said as he got up to leave. "Cheers." He nodded politely. But then she did something very strange. She reached out and hugged him, very tightly and not for very long. It was lovely. "Take care of yourself," she said as he left. He walked back slowly and wished he had an invisibility cloak. He could do without Severus following him, or having to break up a hexing match between 2 very inept first years. When he finally reached the portrait hole up to Gryffindor Tower, he really did fancy an early night. But of course, the Marauders had other plans. "Happy birthday, Remus!" The entire common room exploded as soon as he appeared. They'd done an incredible job. There were streamers hanging from every rafter, portrait and picture rail, and confetti liberally sprinkled over everything else. Students and friends of Remus's from every house and year group grinned back at him, a flock of real live fairies fluttering over their heads. The tables were laden with sandwiches, cakes, pasties, pastries, as well as a huge bowl of very suspicious-looking punch. He smiled as widely as he could as he entered the room. "Oh my God," he said, hoping he was doing a good surprised face. "You lot are crazy." They laughed and eagerly ushered him into the room, where he found himself surrounded by cheers and pats on the back and birthday wishes. The record player began to blare, and Remus's 16th birthday party began in earnest. "I think it's bigger than Sirius's party," James said, handing Remus a cup of the purplish-looking punch. "Don't tell him I said that, though." "I don't know why all these people are here," Remus replied, staring around amazed. Everyone from every one of his classes, his study group, some people he'd only spoken to a few times before. "Because you're Moony, obviously. The acceptable face of the Marauders." James nudged him. Wow, look at Evans. Lily did look lovely, in a deep maroon miniskirt and high wedge sandals. She was dancing with Marlene and Mary in a little group of 3, laughing and raising her hands above her head. Please tell me someone's confiscated your broom tonight, Remus said to James, who laughed good-naturedly. Don't worry, I'm not planning to get that junk again anytime soon. I'm going to try and play hard to get tonight. She'll appreciate that, Remus replied. He scanned the room for Sirius, who seemed to be missing. There was Peter, cozied up in an armchair with Desdemona. There was Christopher, having a very earnest conversation with a third-year Ravenclaw girl, occasionally glancing up to smile at Remus. The rest of the Gryffindor Quidditch team were huddled around the punch, challenging each other to down stronger and stronger measures. No Sirius. James must have seen him looking. He's moping somewhere, over Mary, he explained. I told him if he can't cheer the fuck up, then he's not to come down here and bring everyone else down. I've taken him a few drinks up, but it's not working. Oh, right. Still haven't made up then? Remus watched Mary still dancing, who had caught the eye of almost every boy in the room. Doesn't look like it. I thought maybe tough love would help, but I'm not as good at it as you. So he's sulking. Don't mind him, though. Moony, enjoy your party. He did try to. The cake Mrs. Potter had sent was glorious, heavy rich chocolate with white icing and multicoloured hundreds and thousands. The candles were enchanted to burn all evening without dripping wax, and only went out for a few moments after Remus blew on them. He did not dance, though Marlene and Lily tried to drag him up a few times, but he did mingle, thanking people for coming, and having quite a few nice chats with the 7th years about which newts to take. You should be a teacher, one of them said, which Remus thought was very kind, but completely insane. It must have been getting close to midnight when he patted his back pocket for his pack of cigarettes, and found them missing. Sighing, he considered leaving it, but he had had enough to drink now, and just really wanted to smoke more than anything. There was still a box in the bottom of his trunk, if Sirius hadn't pinched them. He decided to go and look. Halfway up the stairs, he bumped into James again. Sorry, Moony, the black-haired boy said, looking a bit drunk and a bit annoyed. He's coming down now. Remus looked over James's shoulder to see a sullen-faced Sirius following him down the stairs. You're not going to bed, are you? James asked. No. Remus shook his head, almost struck dumb. Fags. Filthy habit, James said with a wonky smirk. He glanced over his shoulder. Come on then, Black. Just a sec, Sirius said, looking at Moony. I'd want to say happy birthday to Moony. Fine, but hurry up, James said, slurring. Remus, tell him to swallow his stupid bloody pride and get down there and snog Mary. Okay, Prongs. James pushed the door open, and for a few seconds light and noise invaded the staircase, before muting again as he closed the door behind him. Sirius and Remus were alone. Happy birthday, Moony, Sirius said, coming down a few steps to stand level with Remus. Cheers, Remus smiled, as casually as he could. You okay? Yeah, fine, Sirius said, though it was clearly a lie. He was fiddling with an empty cup. Sorry if I ruined your party. You didn't. It's been great. Good. Quiet. Sirius looked down, then up at Remus again. James reckons I need to be the one to go and make up with Mary. Probably a good idea. You think so? Well, yeah. Remus was confused. You like Mary, I thought. Sirius shrugged, looking at Remus again. His eyes dark blue, flecked with sharp, icy silver. His lips were shiny and red from drinking, and he had that slightly petulant look he got when he wasn't smiling. Remus almost wanted to look away, he was so gorgeous. It couldn't be right, staring at each other like that. It couldn't possibly end well. I do like Mary, Sirius said, leaning forward slightly. Remus could feel his breath on his skin. "So, go and snog her then, silly prat," Remus said, hurriedly, trying to step back but bumping against the wall behind him. It really was such a stupidly narrow stairway, like the broom cupboard all over again. "I will," Sirius said, biting his lips slightly. Oh God, Remus thought. "I will, in a minute." Remus swallowed. "Have you ever kissed anyone, Remus?" "No, you know I haven't." The lie came easily now. Sirius nodded, looking at him again, that forward knowing look. "It's really not as scary as you think it is," Sirius said. Remus couldn't bear it. He might never know what came over him in that moment. It was all just too much, and he grabbed the back of the other boy's neck and pulled him forward, pressing his lips hard against Sirius's. It was terrifying and amazing. Even more so when Sirius began kissing him back, opening his lips and allowing Remus to slide his tongue inside. It was all at once startling, incredible, and familiar. He couldn't think, as if every transmitter in his brain had short-circuited at once, fizzing and popping, sending off sparks. Yes, was the only coherent thought he had. Yes, 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 yes. They came to their senses simultaneously, both pulling away. Remus snatched back his hand. Remus stared at him wide-eyed. Remus looked away first. "I'd better—" Sirius started back towards the common room. "Yeah, I was just—" Remus backed away, up the stairs. Sirius disappeared back towards the party, and Remus exhaled deeply, feeling he might sink into the floor. He ran his fingers through his hair and wiped his mouth. He rubbed his eyes and fought the urge to punch the wall. What had he been playing at? Sirius would think he was completely mad, or worse. He'd never done anything like that before. Maybe he was mad. He had to say sorry, he had to make it right, before Sirius told James, before they all knew. Remus straightened his shirt and headed downstairs, hoping to catch up with Sirius to apologise, to somehow explain. He re-entered the common room, still vibrant with light and music, and saw something that made him stop still. He shrank back, unable to look away. Sirius was snogging Mary. He had her pushed up against the marble mantelpiece, and she looked like she was pushing back against him with equal ferocity, their bodies pressed together, heads bopping. Her arms were slung around his neck, her thin, dark fingers curling in his hair. Everyone cheered and hooted merrily. Remus turned on his heel and marched straight back to the tower. He ignored James and Peter, who were planning to head to the kitchens for more supplies. He just shook his head, mute, and carried on up the stairs to their bedroom. He drew the curtains around his bed and lay down, feeling strange. He covered his face with his arms and thought about the two of them together. He thought about Sirius's eyes and the curve of Mary's hips until he fell into a fitful sleep. End of chapter 86.